Hey, this is Waylay.
Hello.
She's an A-game babe who will make you say Mayday before you can even play the game. But what does she do? Well, let's find out.
One enemy. I know. Down A.
Nice and slow down.
One enemy.
My ultimate is like one doing a thing.
I recalled! Waylay is an agent that I've had a lot of fun with since my return to Valorant. She's a fast-paced duelist that plays similar to an initiator. What I mean by this is while Waylay can frag out in some games, she usually assists her team with entry and area control. I'm going to be talking a little about my praises and gripes with this character, as well as some things that I'd change about her. Quick disclaimer though, I'm not good at this game. I'm currently a washed diamond player who used to be a peak ascendant, but even then I was carried through sheer luck and matchmaking. What I'm saying is don't be expecting a pro's perspective on this agent, and don't flame me if I'm stupid. With that said, let's talk about Waylay's abilities, starting with her E. When you press E, she places an anchor similar to Phoenix's ult and starts an 8-second duration. During this duration, you can reactivate the ability to return to where you placed the anchor. This ability has a standard 2-kill refresh of every other duelist, which is the only way to use more than 3 abilities, not including her ult, per round. I love this ability. It has the weaknesses of Phoenix ult, uses of chamber TP, and the planning of jet dash. Unfortunately, you can't see any enemies during the recall animation, so you can't use it for any intel. The usual game plan with this ability is to pop it, get a kill, and go back with its recast. But there are some other niche use cases. Because of the full invincibility you get from returning to your anchor, you can use it to dodge some ult and abilities like Fade's and KJ's ult. There isn't much more to talk about with this ability, so let's move on to our Q. Lightspeed is Waylay's bread and butter. You can press Q to get it ready, and then you can choose to dash once with right click or twice with left click. Keep in mind that only the first dash has verticality, so if you dash twice, you have to aim upwards, then to your endpoint. Waylay's dash lets you get away with a ton. I've mainly used it to entry, reposition, and even get a bit of quick info by pairing it with refract. But I think the best way to utilize her dash is to activate it in conjunction with her C. Her C ability Saturate throws a projectile that bounces off walls and falls after 0.6 seconds to inflict the hindered debuff for 4. This debuff is kinda busted. It's basically a slightly stronger stun that slows down weapon equipment speed as well. Using this ability and then dashing on the opponent practically guarantees a free kill if done right. Because it instantly falls after a bit, you can line it up like a Phoenix Molly to hit the ability at some nasty angles. This is useful because the ability won't trigger the debuff if the enemy isn't in LOS. You can also airbomb the enemy by using Lightspeed to get right in front of the opponent and then hindering them and running away with Waylay's signature. You gotta be careful doing this though, because after the combo you'll have no abilities besides your ult left for gunfights. Speaking of, Waylay's ultimate ability, Convergent Paths, inflicts the same debuff as Saturate. It creates an area that'll hinder everybody in it for 7 seconds after a 2.6 second activation time. When she uses the ult, Waylay gets a 7-second buff called Convergence that increases her movement speed by a pretty noticeable amount. It's an 8-point ultimate, so it is on the higher side of ult costs, but this is standard for map coverage ults like Breaches and Fades. This ult's area is a little thinner than those other abilities, so it can be a little awkward to use it on some maps. The absolute worst part of this ability though is that it debuffs your teammates in the area. This is really annoying because you're not able to use it to help your party members retake a site when they're already on it. Other than that, Waylay can basically use this ability as a giant version of her Saturate by following it up with Lightspeed and getting some free picks. All of Waylay's abilities have only one charge each. There are only 4 other agents who have this quality currently: Viper, Gecko, ISO, and Neon. Unlike these other characters however, Waylay doesn't have any options to reuse her kit besides the 2-kill refresh, leading to situations where she's stuck with nothing to do but dry peek and hold angles. Plus, Waylay's abilities each cost 300 credits, which means she has to pay more than these other characters for less uses of her abilities. With all this in mind, I have a couple changes that I would make to Waylay's kit to make her either stronger or more entertaining. The first one being with her dash. The problems with Lightspeed are that the single dash variant is barely used, and other duelists have much better ways to move and frag. Characters like Jet, Raze, and Yoru each have 2 abilities or charges of abilities that let them reposition in some way. Waylay might be a bit too strong if she had 2 full dashes, but I think this solution would keep her fairly balanced while making her a lot more fun. Let Waylay buy 2 charges of Lightspeed, each 150 credits. With these 2 charges, Waylay would be able to use 2 separate instances of her single dash. However, using left click would use both charges of the ability, like Teo or Brim using 2 of their signatures. Because Waylay's dash isn't omnidirectional, I don't think it would be too much stronger than Jet's dash. Not that I think that Riot would be opposed to making Jet even worse. This change would open up a lot more opportunities for Waylay and make players think harder about using her double dash. I'm still not sure if both charges of the single dash would have verticality because it might be too strong, but who cares, Waylay deserves the buff. An easy way to make Waylay stronger is just to give her 2 charges of Saturate. I think this change would be pretty fair if the price of the ability was kept at 300 credits, because then her entire kit would be only 100 away from Chambers. But even if that's too much, Saturate would be a lot more fun if the line of sight check was removed completely. I feel like a lot of times I use her C and the enemy just barely dodges it behind a small wall. I don't think this buff would be too much, but it'd make Waylay feel a lot better on some maps like Karot. Another quick change to Waylay would be making it so you could see enemies during the return animation of her refract. The change would be pretty small, but it would let her finally use it for intel on bind. Going through the TP and reactivating Waylay's E makes you go all the way through Link, and I think it'd be really cool to use her signature for info. The last change that I'd love to see would be with Waylay's ultimate. Please, Riot, make Waylay's ult buff teammates in the range. It'd be so sick to see a full squad just running up on a poor Brimstone trying to play lineups. I don't even care if it would mean that it would cost another ult point. I just think it's unfair that Waylay gets to have all the fun with convergence, while her teammates have to be hindered for 7 whole seconds. Now, all of these changes together would be a bit overpowered, but I think some standalone buffs would be awesome to see. I don't really expect these changes to be actually implemented, but if only one of them could be, I would definitely hope for it to be the Lightspeed buff. I just want to dash more, man. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Good job, Rito. Cool character. Thanks for watching. Music in the description. Okay, bye.